Hey, Tom, I'm going to be in Colorado this week.
I can't wait. There's a couple things I have to say about it.
You are being gracious enough to let Jesse and myself crash in your humble abode. But you've had a hell of a time getting that space ready, it sounds like.
Yeah. So it's an unfinished basement we're trying to make feel a little bit more like home. We spent maybe 4 hours on Sunday trying to get stuff set up, picked up a bed from our friend, went to Joann Fabric to get all this fabric to like hang on the ceiling and the walls.
Well, where else would you go?
I know. At first I was like, Michael? And she was like, are you fucking mental, bruv? So we went to Joann Fabric, of course, as if there was another option, and had to cover up the boiler room, stuff like that. But I am very, very, very glad that we didn't wait until the day before to do this, because we had a couple of things happen in the middle of the night that I was just imagining if you guys were staying there when all this stuff happened, it would have been kind of a nightmare.
Well, you didn't. We would have slept on camping sleeping bags on the floor of the basement, as is. I hope you know.
Well, we've been wanting to make the basement into like a bedroom kind of situation, so it was a great excuse to really, really make it happen after living here for 6 months and saying we were going to. So my buddy Jimmy, he has this like lighting company, and we were going to do some photos. So he brought over these like big Edison bulbs. They're like a foot long. And I hung one from the ceiling like, oh, that's really nice. It's kind of fancy. It's got some nice warm amber lighting. So I set that up. We have some like Christmas lights hung to the back of like the HVAC so that it has kind of a glow on the wall coming from behind it, and we're just trying to make it look, just make it look nice for you guys. And got the bed set up. And
you're trying to tell me that you got Edison bulbs just for a spare living space, just for us this weekend?
Well, we didn't. I happen to have them on hand. So the Edison bulb.
Say, you guys are really going above and beyond, and you're making me feel like I hope we're good enough guests to warrant such incredible hospitality.
Well, this is where everything could have gone wrong.
Okay.
So I hung the light bulb up like kind of over a nail and put the spare wire on top of like whatever HVAC was there. And we went to bed. And at 2 a.m, I hear this like super loud crash. And I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Someone's breaking in. I'm going to die tonight. Like it's always like a fear. None of our windows lock. So I just imagined someone was coming in through the basement. And I get up with my phone flashlight and I'm walking around. I go downstairs and I see that the Edison bulb fell from this little nail hook. And I think those bulbs are like compressed. So when it fell, it hit this coffee table that we were going to be selling that day, which was right underneath it, which was about bed height. And when it hit the table, it fucking exploded, dude. Like glass was absolutely everywhere, like in the bed, all over the floor. And I was just thinking, like, if you guys were sleeping there, you would have just been like totally doused in glass at 2 a.m.
Oh my God. Is there any chance this will still happen? Like, now
No.
I'm a tad concerned.
And then all the Christmas lights we hung up on like the ducting, it didn't stick. So all those like fell onto the bed.
Okay. So there was a little bit of a rocky start.
A little bit. So what I'm saying, I'm glad that we didn't wait till the day before, because you would have been covered in glass and Christmas lights in the middle of the night. Would have made for very unpleasant sleeping. And also the little mattress, what do you call that? The frame, one of the legs collapsed. So like the corner of it was like down on the ground. It was like everything went wrong, dude. So we got it all fixed up, cleaned up all the glass. It wasn't like in the bed. There was like a little bit on the blanket. Shook it all off, put it through the washer.
You got to give it a good glass shake.
Sure. I've swept up maybe 8 times just to make sure.
It's in the Joann Fabric rulebook.
What was that?
The Joann Fabric rulebook.
So we're ironing out the kinks right now, but we got you a fan, and we got to figure out how to get the windows open. All the like levers are broken off, so you can't lock it, but you also can't open it from the inside. So yeah, working out the kinks, but it's going to be nice. The bad news though, Pat,
Sure.
I typically work on Saturdays. And about 2 weeks ago, I emailed my boss like, hey, can you black out my schedule until like 1 o'clock? And he didn't see it until recently, until after I was scheduled to be somewhere at 7 in the fucking morning, the day we were all supposed to go out to breakfast together. So the other surveyor at my shop is out of town that weekend. I am trying to figure stuff out to either get that job moved ahead a day or like later on in that Saturday. I might start feeling a little sick on Friday night and have to call off. I'm trying to make it work. I'm honestly super stressed out about it. I feel super dumb that I didn't ask like months ago, but I thought like 2.5 weeks would be enough time, and the dude just didn't see it until too late.
So what time? Wait, hold on. I think I missed the whole thing. You have to go.
I'm supposed to be working at 7 in the morning that Saturday. You guys are here.
Okay.
When we were supposed to go out to breakfast. So
Indeed. We had made loose breakfast plans, but that's okay. We can go early, or we can go to a late night diner when we get in or something like that.
We'll figure it out. I'm super bummed, but I'll make it work. The schedules are like kind of loose, so I might be able to like call the customer and be like, "Hey, can I come at like 3?" And if they fire me, so what?
I would advise heavily against doing anything that extreme. We can always go out somewhere late instead of somewhere early, but
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well, we're getting in pretty late Friday anyway, so it's kind of a tough spot.
Yeah.
So.
It's a bummer.
We booked the rental car, so
nice.
Yeah, turn up the heat. It's happening.
All right. Well, you're gonna have a nice little bedroom down there.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's mostly decorated in stuff that Megan got from Bali years ago. That's been in storage, so it's lots of patterns. I'm gonna warn you right now. There's a lot of patterns going on down there.
Well, you know how I feel about patterns.
I think you love them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm excited. By the time this show goes out, most listeners will probably be listening as we are embracing, I'd imagine. Yeah, we can all cram into our bed too. We got a queen upstairs. We can fit 4. Bless the dog.
What's the Edison bulb situation up there? Are they exploding? Not exploding? Not there?
No Edison bulbs in the room.
No Edison bulbs. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have figured you would be a Tesla bulb guy.
Oh yeah, just
considering the history of your favorite company and one Thomas Edison.
Right.
Or the namesake, I should say. Right. So you just got your flight and hotel hooked up to come down to Fort Smith in about a month, it sounds like, which is very exciting. I think we're T-minus almost exactly a month, or maybe just under a month this week.
Super procrastinated on that too. But I was able to, book flights. On American Airlines, I'm able to sit next to Megan on all 4 flights, which is super nice. Usually we're crammed in the middle aisles in front of or behind each other. So, we're
going budget airlines for the first time on this particular trip. I think it's Frontier and Allegiant we just figured we're going to I think we're going to come in our dress clothes on Friday. So they don't get wrinkled in our tiny bags, and then just bring really tiny carry-on bags so we don't end up getting screwed or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the American Airlines tickets, like the basic economy, didn't even include a carry-on. So we paid like $40 for the upgrade so we can pick our seats and get a carry-on. Because we would have had nothing. I'm not putting, decent clothes in a backpack, so...
I will say there seems to be a gap in understanding for people about what goes in the upper head bins and what's supposed to go at your feet.
I always put shit under my feet. Always.
Right. I mean, like you're supposed to, in theory, have one large thing if you need it in a book bag to go at your feet. And then I've been on a lot of flights recently where, you board group 6 or whatever, right? Whatever random, the majority of whatever people get, whenever they get it. And you get on and the whole things are filled with backpacks and shoes and, it's just like... The flight attendants are scrambling every time at the end to just kind of be like, I guess we'll check it at the door now. And we're going to be delayed 10 minutes because everybody had a second pair of shoes loose in the cabin that are now in the way of how these things are built to hold regular size roller bags.
Oh, God.
It's just, I think I don't know if we talked about how instead of home ec, there should be a media literacy class in high school. I think there should also be an airline etiquette or just
Oh my God,
basic
dude,
travel
yeah.
etiquette.
Yeah.
Like how to pass on the highway. I know in theory you should learn that in your driver's test, but maybe some of the more in-practice stuff to go back over how to adult and things like that. Just some basic.
I think if you're in the left lane and you're not actively passing people, someone else should be allowed to shoot you in the face.
That's definitely an aggressive way to handle that.
I got places to go, Pat. People in
Wow.
Denver go 15 under in the left lane, and
You're a very busy man, man.
I
to
got
quote Craig Finn.
maybe punched in the face. I'll settle for that.
Ooh, interesting. So you would drive on the shoulder and be the passenger you'd be on the shoulder left of the passing lane.
It would
to
be
able
like
to
a
reach.
go-go gadget arm situation.
Oh, I hadn't considered the go-go gadget arm. I didn't know you had come into that type of technology, but I love where this is heading.
Punch right through the passenger seat, through their driver window, right in the face.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anyways, aggression aside.
Right. But, yeah, so we were going to take, as promised, last week and do an episode where Tom gets to ask me 5 questions because I haven't really been talking or saying anything for like a year, maybe 6 to 8 months. Does that sound about right?
I've been bad. I've been super busy and I didn't think of 5 questions. So I don't know if I want to use this opportunity to just come up with some things off the top of my head because I feel like I can really come up with some good questions here.
Yeah, I guess I could start with a quick story time. And then you can jostle down at least one question.
Okay.
Yeah, the deal's broken. The deal's off. You only get 1, not 5. Better make it count.
Okay.
Although I assume after 2 years of doing these shows, you would not have much left to need to know. So,
You're not very transparent though, Pat. So I have a lot of questions, actually.
ooh, okay, now I'm curious. Start writing them down.
Okay.
Turn up the heat. No, so, if you've been listening to the past couple weeks, you know that the wedding's coming up and that I was in Charlotte at one point for a work trip and stuff that, I'll back up a little bit. I met Jesse in New Mexico in 2014, the spring of 2014, and we dated for a couple of years, and I moved to Cleveland, which is when this show started. And then you've probably heard the stories about how I ended up in Cincinnati. Kind of got lucky, and it's worked out since, right? And this spring, I got the tax return, got the ring, proposed, everything like that. If you've been listening to the show, you pretty much know most of that stuff. But what you might not know, and I wasn't sure if, how much is worth sharing and all that, but, we definitely wanted to move the wedding up into the fall because we really wanted her dad to be there, and he had been fighting an illness for like 15 years, I guess, and he had served in Vietnam as a medic, and kind of the general thinking was that coming in contact with Agent Orange at the time is what set off the string of events that would happen later. But anyway, so we moved up the wedding to September instead of usually people would have given themselves, a year to plan, right? So we just kind of set it up and said, let's do it if we're going to do it. That was kind of how the proposal happened. People keep asking for the story, but I don't know how romantic the story is. We just knew who we wanted to give a chance to be able to attend, and we just said, why wait? And let's go for it, and we wanted to do it, so we did it.
Right. That was a question that I asked during the proposal. I was like, can you give me more details? And you were just like, no. Like,
right. Yeah, it was a very beautiful moment
Yeah.
in kind of a different shade of what you might conventionally think,
Sure.
But it was a very deep, understanding of why we wanted to do certain things on a certain timeline and this and that. And, I just kind of had the ring on me because I had bought it that week, and I just didn't want to wait and pulled it out after we had reached a certain subject, because we had been drinking some wine that night in the apartment. And anyway, so we were like, let's just do it. Let's do it this fall. And, back to the point about me going on this work trip to Charlotte, it was a couple weeks ago, I guess. And the night I left, I had landed there, and I think we recorded an episode from the hotel. Then I went up to grab some dinner and got a call from Jessie that it had happened, and she was going to be flying down to Fort Smith the next night. or that it was about to happen. And that was pretty awful to not be able to be there for her and with her. But she said it was kind of nice to be able to just kind of go through it on her own. And then she was able to join up with her mom and sister down there on a Tuesday night. And meanwhile, I was just in Charlotte kind of until further notice, doing work stuff. And I had thought about leaving early and driving up, and I had talked to you on the phone about this a little bit. And anyway, that didn't end up happening because there was a lot of planning on the other end, and I was just going to stay, and then on Thursday think about either driving or flying. And ended up coming to be that, her mom was nice enough to just buy a ticket, but it was out of Cincinnati on the Friday. So I went home and checked the mail and watered the plants and things like that. And to cap off an already pretty strange week, and I don't know if I've shared this with you, but the flight back from Charlotte, I was in the airport for like 8 hours.
Oh my God.
I was supposed to fly out at like 1. And they ended up buying Chick-fil-A for everyone waiting at the gate. Then like, well, this plane next to us is going back to Cincinnati too. And I got like the last possible standby ticket. And everyone was walking in and it was going to work great. And this was like hour 7, right? And some guy comes walking back out of the terminal and is like, oh man, my seat's broken. And they're like, actually, it's against FAA. We have to put you in the last remaining seat. He's like, good luck, partner. Because we had all been sitting there for so long. We had all kind of like had a little sense of community at that point in the airport. So anyway, just with everything going on, I ended up walking back to my original gate, and that plane still had to get back to Cincinnati to fly out of, because they had a scheduled flight out of Cincinnati the next day. So it was me, the pilot, and one stewardess. Or that's not the right word. But I was like, they handed me a bunch of drink tickets and all this, and she was like, you can save those. I'm just going to give you what we have, So she gave me like 12 mini bottles of Dewar's Irish Scotch or whatever, and like a ginger ale. And I pretty much unloaded on her, right? It was like a 2-hour, I've never been on a plane alone before, just like literally no other bodies. She gave me 2 little bags of Cheez-Its, so that was pretty cool, I guess. But
right, so you sent me a photo of this, and you were literally alone, single human being on this flight.
Right. She sat down and she was talking about her life a little and how her husband just got a job at the Cincinnati airport and how she is a stewardess based out of Chicago. So she'll take a flight up. I don't know. We were just chatting. And, after a few of those Dewar's in my ginger ale, I was pretty much was like, so this is what's going on. And, kind of told her everything. And she was real nice and listened and everything. Anyway, I ended up going to Fort Smith the next day and, it was, I don't know how much I'll embellish on this one. I probably won't, but it was just a very beautiful service on that Saturday, and it was very nice to be able to be there. And Jessie was just real brave, and, she always has been, but, this weekend it was on display. She and her sister spoke very well at the service, and, she said to me that she wants to look towards the future and wanted to keep the wedding on as scheduled, because that was kind of the first question was, you do whatever you want. She's, she wanted to celebrate with friends and family. And so that's kind of where we're at. We came back. She came back probably a week after I left. I had left on the Sunday after. And so, yeah, I guess that is most of what's been going on. And so, we've been trying to plan the wedding and, I don't know if people along the way have been curious about why the timeline was so short or why this or that and why we're just going with barbecue and why this and that. It's just, we just want everyone to have a good time, and we're just going to do it like we were going to do it and hope people dance and smile. And, what's kind of interesting is going through making your own ceremony. There's, blogs and stuff that talk about, you can do remembrances and stuff like that, and just even writing vows like that, kind of working around it maybe, and trying to talk through it and see what's best for everything. And I'm sure it'll be great, but it's definitely has been an interesting process. And I felt that if you're going from 0 to 100 and listening along with us, that this is information that I owe you all in a weird way, if that makes sense, right? So you can probably understand why I haven't really talked about it. And there it is. And now Tom, I think, was the part where, and again, you spill your guts every week, so this is definitely a different episode in that regard. But you can ask me 5 if you've got them. questions about the show the last 2 years, the last 8 months, or however long it's been, kind of mostly a certain dynamic and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have questions about, some stuff that you just asked, but I don't know what would be considered inappropriate just as a question, or especially on the air, because it's not really anyone's business. And, I told you, you certainly don't need to share anything if you don't want to. I mean, and again, this doesn't need to be on the air, but I'm just wondering, like, I think I might have actually asked you this. Typically the father walks the bride down the aisle. Like, is there a plan for that? I think you mentioned you didn't think he was healthy enough to do it anyways. And again, we can take this out. This is just me asking. But
right. I think it came up. Obviously it came up, but we were just kind of hoping that in some capacity attendance would be possible, which was the whole game plan, like the only thing
right
that we had really hoped would happen anyhow. And now that whatever transpired, now Jesse was saying maybe we could just walk down together.
That'd be cute.
Yeah, I don't know. She was saying she didn't really want. I don't know. She has a lot of uncles that are willing and people that care that are willing, but she didn't want whatever the version of it was to call back to it in any obvious,
sure,
biting way, because she, to a certain degree, probably doesn't want those in attendance to be gripped by sadness too much in the moment, but I don't think she wants that either to a certain degree. So we might walk up together, or I might go halfway and grab her at midway through and figure something like that out. She definitely wanted to look towards the future and everything like that and make it a celebration. So hopefully I think that answers your question, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So either way, it'll be totally fine because everything's been done in one way or another. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. We'll figure it out. I think we'll probably, one of those two things, I think.
Gotcha.
It'll be definitely different than your raining outside woodsy guitar playing walk in, that's for sure. It'll be a touch more different than that vibe, but it's special in its own way, to be sure.
Yeah, dude. I'm super, super duper looking forward to it, and barbecue too, and just seeing you guys, and Zach. I have some tiny little gifts for you guys for being at my wedding that I'll be bringing there, but it's literally like nothing. So just, I
will say that if it's too nice of a gift, I'm going to be utterly upset with you.
It's under $10, so don't worry.
Okay. Okay. If it's Secret Santa level, then I think we can let that pass. We can let that go. But yeah, anyway. So you had one. We're 1 out of 5 in.
Was that a question?
You were asking about who? Yeah, the ceremony will be. It'll be unique in its own way. But we'll probably work around certain parts. And the thing that we're really coming down to is a reading or the part you say in the middle between the officiant's kind of story. Oh, we, in our research for this, we came across what we think your Andrew might have seen that inspired what he was saying at the time. So we just had a chuckle. Like, it's cool to know that, everyone's human in kind of in a weird way, because he made what we saw into a totally different thing that was unique to the situation.
Wait, what do you mean what you saw?
Like, we read this blog that was just like, it's kind of weird, isn't it? There was a few lines that he had weaved into his own beautiful ceremony. So we were just like, I'm glad we're at least looking where he looked, because he did a good job, And right now we have to weave in between the officiant's kind of story, and hopefully he explains to everyone how New Mexico even played a role, and how he viewed us as a couple.
Yeah.
But then at the end, there's the sickness health stuff, which it's classic, right? You got to go with it, and we like it. But there's probably a middle thing, but we don't want to do the Colossians or 3:12 or whatever, the love is patient, love is kind stuff. We're having a little bit of trouble finding a passage that really fits, because all of our favorite authors, when they get nostalgic and write about love, it's usually pretty dark. So
I mean, so you're going with a Bible verse, or you're saying you're trying to find something?
We're not actively trying to avoid it, because we've been looking at some of the songs of Solomon and Psalms and things like that, just to see. I mean, that's really old and was written by somebody at some point, and there might be something really beautiful in there, but we're definitely not ruling out it coming from an uncommon source, I guess. So that's really our next big thing. But we might skip the remembrance, and I might walk down with her, and I don't know, just kind of work around some of those parts. It's interesting, and it's also kind of in flux because hopefully that answers your question.
So you're saying you are doing In Sickness and in Health?
Yeah, we're gonna run through the classics at the end for sure. With this ring, I thee do it, all that crap. But the ring and the vow stuff only takes 2.5 minutes tops.
Right. So you were like, how do you fill 15 minutes?
It can't just go from Matt saying,
Yeah.
And then New Mexico was hot, wasn't it, folks? All right, you want to do the ring stuff? Let's do the ring stuff. Let's get this fucker moving.
I mean, all I can really say is that it is just fucking weird. Like the whole thing. Like Andrew was right, and Megan said she didn't really love that part of his thing. But it's absolutely true.
It is.
The whole thing is weird as like, hey, everyone, look at us.
Yeah. Well, you're looking good. I don't know. It's a thing. You're gathering. It's a good party with everyone that you would want to be there and everything like that. So
yeah, cool.
So it's something you do, I guess, and that's good.
Well, do you mind if I just totally change gears here with my questions?
You have 4 left. Yeah. Mostly the reason I went over what I just went over was for the handful of folks on Twitter that have been going from 0 to 100 with us. Because it's part of what's been happening. It's been definitely a large arc from when we first started. So
yeah,
that's pretty much. But yeah, you don't have to keep all 5 questions to that topic. It would probably almost be better to not.
Okay. If you could be an expert at one thing that you currently know nothing about, what would it be?
Probably auto mechanics.
Really?
I think not being able to drive standard, and if there's a zombie apocalypse hit, I would definitely want to be the dude, like the gearhead that could be like, it's not going to be pretty, but we'll get her running. I think that would be like, I don't know, just an intimate knowledge of combustion and shit like that. I think that would be valuable.
Well, Pat, you know that, first of all, driving standard is already largely irrelevant, and internal combustion engines are going to be irrelevant in the next 10 years. There's whole countries outlawing them.
Hey, I'm just answering the question. I'm just saying, if the zombie apocalypse hit now, I would want to be able to get a vehicle up and running regardless.
Just kill yourself, dude. We can go out together. We can hold hands and end it.
Wow.
We already mentioned, for anyone wondering what the that was about, episode 40 something. I think zombie apocalypse is actually in there. If the apocalypse
happened, zombie episode?
Yeah, I'm blowing my brains out immediately. Before even looking for a shred of hope, I'm ending it.
Yeah. Hey. Well, yeah, you can go back and listen to that bright and bubbly episode if you want. If this has not turned out what you thought it was going to be. Anyway, to be a little bit more of a gearhead or an expert gearhead would be kind of a cool thing, I think.
Yeah, well, you got YouTube for that. Would you turn it into a career? Would you become an auto mechanic?
No. This is just something I can do. It wouldn't define my existence by any means, but it would just be cool to be like, yeah, I'll take a look, kind of take my tie off or some crap at a wedding. Just be like, how are we going to get home? Well, you're going to dump some water in that radiator. I can tell you that much. That thing is steaming like a clam. I don't know, something like that.
Very nice.
So yeah, I don't know why I've always I could say playing drums well, but you can just practice and do that. I think being a gearhead would take time and effort. I don't know. Yeah, I would like that.
And playing drums is so easy, Pat. No effort at all.
Well, yeah, I have no comment.
All right. 4 bands on one tour and you book it. What bands would that be?
Well, I don't just want to list bands I like because I think I would want it to be a good show.
I think we've done this before, by the way, but that's fine.
It's pretty close to our Desert Island thing, but I think if I wanted to make it a good show, it would have to be 2 acts that would only play 20-minute sets, right? So I wouldn't want to book Blink, Bruce, and then just have only 2 of them have to play what the standard first 2 band setup would be. So I think I would want to have good, smaller tier bands. Man, that's tough. I would say that, let's say that, man, that's freaking tough. I would say, well, I hate this question because I'm floundering, and even with time to plan, this would have been a tough one to answer. I'm going to say Hold Steady is the headliner.
Oh, wow.
with the keyboardist back. And that's the main reason why this tour is notable. Then I'm going to say Titus Andronicus is band 3. And I think because they enjoy performing together and things like that. And I have seen kind of a version of that tour before. I'm going to say, I don't know, these mid-level bands are above where I'm about to put them. But lately, Manchester Orchestra and Born Ruffians have been kind of, I don't know, they would be my mid-level 20 sets at the beginning. Hold steady caps off the evening.
So what capacity venue are we talking here? 200, 500, 1,000?
Just because we talked about it last week.
Or is it just going to be a basement?
It's a one-show tour. It's at Red Rocks, which it would be an awful venue for that show, I'm pretty sure. Just Patrick Stickles screaming off the sides of the rocks and just noise happening everywhere. No, I don't know. I just named 4 bands. That would be an awful show. We'll come back next week. That's a whole episode. You're a madman.
Killing you. All right, I got another hard one. If you were to try to think of your fondest memory on your life, what would it be?
That's a good question.
I'm sure there's a lot of them.
I've been pretty lucky. I don't have many qualms. There's almost a guilt there, quite frankly. Everything's just been A-okay. And uninteresting, not really, You think about, what's the happiest moment of my life? Jeez Louise, man. I mean, when you have a partner in your life, stuff involving them has to crack the top 3, right? And only if you have a really good, young kid one, and, one that's notable enough to be compared to something like Romantic Love, right? So, oh boy, that's a loaded question. Either you're really good at this, or you're the worst at this, and it makes you forever. Actually, I think the show would actually be, I'm just going to go for it and have Weezer, Blink, Motion City, and The Killers, and I'd watch that show. Who wouldn't watch that show? It'd be great.
Okay, yeah, I'd be there.
Sure, hey. And then in terms of the best moment of my life, I'm going to say that it was getting a job to rejoin with Jesse was pretty great. Just because I remember leaving Dallas on one of the final distance visits we had, and it was just brutal.
Yeah.
But we had some fun in I don't know, it feels weird to do some trivial high school win and put it over kind of the heavier stuff that happens later in life, I don't know. I don't even know. Can I pass? I don't know. It's all been great.
I mean, that was a couple good things. I think that knowing that you're going to get to live in the same city as Jesse again would be huge. I mean,
yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot.
But I would say that honestly, and this would be a number 2. So starting my life with Jesse was that was a weird set of emotions that I didn't even know I was capable of having. Kind of right as you get older, and you're the first time I worried about her driving somewhere, I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, right.
I just actually cared for her well-being. I'm like, things are changing. Things have changed. I will say this. I scored the game-tying free kick against Eisenhower in a semifinal for the D10 2007 or 2008 soccer tournament. And I hit the game-tying free kick as minutes were expiring. And then we went to PKs after 2 overtimes. And they were heavily favored. And we were just the 4 seed, I think. Either way. And then Nick Blake missed his penalty kick, and I went last of 5, even though I was the only junior. The rest were seniors: Dave, Corey, Nick, Zach. Anyway, different Zach. And that's not the point. Anyway, I made the free kick and then drilled home the PK to clinch the win. And one of their players came up, and he was just like, that's clutch. I'm like, thanks, Garrett Fiskus. Anyway, and then the next week we played Fairview, and I scored the game winner there too as well. So the only D10 title I've been a part of was soccer, and it was a very good week athletically for me, for sure. And that's a pretty good memory. That's, being the most in shape you'll ever be and playing at the top of your ability. Early in that season we had played Fairview, and I enjoyed playing baseball more, but there's a couple good basketball moments where I hit a couple threes in a playoff game when I was a sophomore, and the crowd, Mike Bell was yelling in the crowd or something like that. But so there's some athletic pursuits stuff that isn't really part of who I am currently necessarily. That was nice. But yeah, that's a different world. That's a different genre of memory, altogether. Yeah. But I would say the goals I scored leading up to and clinching the D10 title were, and I was only open because they were covering Corey and Zach so vigorously. But it was nice to deliver for them and everybody. It was a nice feeling. And we partied hardy.
Nice. Very nice. So I got one more, which is like a two-parter, I guess. There were so
Okay.
many that I wanted to ask, including some that would intentionally make you feel uncomfortable. But
I feel like getting the mechanic question out of me was a good interviewer thing on your part, because I don't even it's just something I rarely think about, but it seemed like such an obvious and easy answer to that question as soon as you asked it.
it's like not even close to what I expected.
Yeah. What did you expect?
I don't know. Like, I really don't know. I just never would have thought anyone would say being a mechanic, because it seems like you can just go on YouTube and do
maybe it's because
anything.
I lived with a guy named Clark in Albuquerque who was just kind of rebuilding his own car, and he had a cast iron skillet, and he grilled a lot because he enjoyed it, even though it was more labor intensive and the taste didn't really pay off in terms of effort versus payoff, which is kind of how that's kind of how I live my life, right? Like, is it worth the effort to get the result? To me, grilling, that's a whole nother can of worms. It's like grilling is just not, it's like, man, taste off a grill, huh? I'm like, I could have already finished this meal an hour ago and been on to my other shit, and it wasn't worth it at all, actually.
Cooking is never worth it to me. I never enjoy.
I enjoy it, but I never got like, got to go refill the propane tank or get the coals, get them hot, and then just like.
I'd rather grill than anything, though. But I rarely
with
do it
that
because
said,
there is effort.
In my head, it's an efficiency equation in all things
Sure.
you do, right? And that's how you can balance your own stress and happiness, and that's kind of an equilibrium I've come to. But with that said, there's a burning jealousy about how Clark took care of his cast iron pan with care, and was rebuilding. He's just kind of a motorhead that would get his fingers dirty with oil. And, there's something kind of not romantic, but there's something like, it's like that book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Like, I'm never going to be the dude that's like, it might be the chain rotor, but kind of deep down, it would be the most badass I could feel is to not like put somebody in their place by doing it, but to help somebody out by doing it,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I still
man.
don't think I understand that book, but there's an old college friend. I was in Brooklyn one night at some party. I was driving up to get Katie. She was in Boston, and I stopped in Brooklyn. And we were drunk on a roof, and he told me to read that book. And then, like, it's been like 7 or 10 years since that night, and I still text him sometimes. I'm like, I don't fucking get this book at all. I'm very sure. I'm very sure. And it's been just kind of funny joking about, like, it's just you either understand how the motorcycle works or you don't. This is much to do about nothing. This is bullshit. I hate everything. Literature is stupid.
Well, I mean, you know that I'm trying to buy a motorcycle, right? Sell my car.
Go for it. Do what you got to do, man.
Oh boy.
Okay, so the two-parter.
Yes. There were a couple that there were so many questions that I wanted to ask. So I do feel weird talking about high school so much, but I mean, were you even mildly aware that you were like the popular kid in high school? Like you were like the guy? Did that like occur to you? Was that a thought that rattled around in your head? Like, I would say the most beloved in our high school, right? Even from like a sophomore. It's like, whoa, sophomores aren't supposed to be the popular kid. How is this guy, rising through the ranks so fast? You were, like, was that ever a thought to you? Like, were you aware of that?
Was I aware of it?
Like at the time, like as it was happening?
I'm trying to think of a way to answer this without ruining everything, right? I think so. If you look at the junior trip, right, we all pulled it off. We were able to go to Geauga Lake and have a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Prom ended up getting moved to the convention center. We, the D10 title, all that stuff. Hopefully hopefully the MO in our grade, and you saw this at junior high in Iroquois, was to try to use just utter Mary Holmes friendliness, I guess, right? I don't know. And I was the more I learned and look back, I was kind of a shithead at times, but hopefully it was nice to everyone my age. I was pretty bad to a couple teachers, but to answer your question, yes, but only in the effort to use the powers for good, right?
Sure.
I mean, I think the only time I was ever actively mean towards somebody would have been, well, I don't want to go down that hole because there's probably more than I realized, but like Casey Calavoda on the basketball court, like he'd flip his hair and was a senior, and we really wanted to beat him in intramural basketball, right? But hopefully it was to support an inclusive environment in which everyone could, the Springsteen thing, nobody wins unless everybody wins. But that's a roundabout way of saying, yeah, but really, to be honest, I don't know if we've talked about as far back as I think Amanda King in first grade invited me to her birthday, and I said I didn't want to go. My dad lectured me for like 3 hours about how you're not Holmeses aren't better than anybody. And yeah, I don't know. So hopefully, honestly, it was easy to just be nice to people, and they were nice back, and you're never, but just treat them with respect. And it's true what they say, man. You give a penny, get a penny, or whatever the song is about how love works and things like that. But I don't know. Is this answering your question at all? Yes, but it was through efforts to, I don't know. Yes, I don't know. I'm a lucky guy. I don't know. Am I answering this right?
Yeah. It was just like,
it wasn't an effort thing.
I know.
Everyone has been so kind.
You're just a good dude. Popular for all the right reasons. Right?
Just trying to be nice, and then I happen to be able to hit a jump shot when necessary, and people. My dad and my grandpa, our family appreciates comedy. So there was a sense of humor. I had my, like, what did you do with your dad growing up? It's like, well, we watched and repeatedly watched all the classic comedy films, like almost religiously. And I don't know. So that was maybe something that helped. I don't know. Feels like a shitty exercise, and I feel weird talking about it, but it was just easy to be nice to everyone and have them show love. And that was just, I don't know. It was just, it was lovely. It was just a nice time. I don't know. This is why I didn't want to do this.
It's hard to talk about yourself, right?
It is the worst thing. And yeah. So yes, to answer your question, yes, but you could never, ever talk about it or address it like that, because that ruins the whole thing. The whole point is to, nobody wins unless everybody wins. So, I think one time we told Chris Wilmoth he couldn't come down to Abby Bowler's beach party or something, and that really upset me. But I also wanted to go to the beach party, so so that was probably a dickish thing. What was another example? Oh, Danielle wanted to trick or treat with us once, and I don't think did. You can bleep these names on this particular set of stories. So we were Starsky and Hutch, Joe and I, and Danielle wanted to, and Joe's like, I don't want to go with them. I want to go with Dave. And my mom was like, you can't just say no to Danielle. She's a friend. She lives in, she can tag along. And it was one of those like right or wrong ethical moments. And so I ended up going with Danielle and a couple other different people, and I was just Hutch, like from Starsky and Hutch, and had to explain that to everybody. And Joe was not happy, but I don't know. Hopefully it was a sign of good faith to Mary, mostly just Mary, just beating shit into my head. She's good mom.
Dude, those high school moments are weird as shit, dude. Like, stuff like that for sure. Sorry, usually the people who mow the lawn come on Wednesdays, which is why we try to schedule these for Tuesday, and they showed up on a fucking Tuesday. So they're right outside my window mowing the lawn right now.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No, that's all right. What was the second part?
You already answered it. I just wanted to ask, like, was that fucking weird, like, in real time? Because, like, I remember a while ago, and maybe this is too intimate, you were just kind of, like, having a bad day, and you said something about... And so, like, our whole friendship, I feel like you've never been the one to, like, show a bunch of emotion, And you said something like, people just always want me to be funny. Like, it's a lot of pressure to be funny all the time when I don't fucking want to be funny. And I like felt this feeling of guilt of like, damn, I always, like, whenever I see Pat, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to laugh so much, like I felt like this weird bit of guilt, and just wondered, like, I don't know. I just never thought about that, I guess.
So for those who don't know, I was on Student Senate, played 3 sports, was in a band with Tom, but that was probably where the conflicts were most, I tried to do everything and probably did the band thing the worst, just because I prioritized baseball over the band at the time, just based on my own stuff. But we did a lot, right? And there was a lot of pressure with that, yeah. So there'd be days where I would not want to talk all day. I don't know, you ever have that as a kid where you're like, it'd be cool if I didn't have to talk today. I could just kind of go about my business.
Worry about your own shit.
I don't know, and then you see somebody be like, hey, what's up? And somebody's just being glowingly nice, and maybe they're having a good morning. You're just like, bada bing, bada, you know what I'm saying? They're like, I do, like, carry on. The birds are putting coats on people, and it's like a Disney situation or something. But I don't know. But yeah, 5 minutes, and like, today's the day where I don't talk. And I think that later became, I don't know, we're doing it, so we might as well do it, right? You and I both got sad in college. That was tough because, there's this running thought after, I don't know, everything just came easy through being nice and trying. And, and after 20 years of it, it was just kind of like, who cares? The times that are really fun and enjoyable, and we talked about this on the show, if you had to be like, okay, you have to do this X amount of going to get your oil changed or going to the dentist and all the stuff that really you loathe versus the times where you're actually like a couple beers in, giggling your hardest with, heartfelt old friends. Like, I don't know, when I was at my lowest, right, you would, and again, this is about after 20 years of just general, like, everything's pretty great and fine, right? People are going to be nice if you're nice to them, and that's a pretty cool equation, right? Just be fair to people and treat them well, and everything's going to be pretty much great. But, that turned into everything just being fine. And then one day it's just like, yeah, everything's fine, but doing right and good is hard a lot of the time, right? This is taking kind of an odd turn, but you're like, well, you're sitting in the dentist's office getting drilled into your gums, right? After you floss like they told you and you ended up fucking that up or something. You know what I mean? You're just like, right. Your teeth, I don't know, you're just sitting there as your teeth are kind of only going to get worse over time. And you're like, man, it's been a while since I've seen X, Y, or Z. And this sucks. And work isn't always the greatest, regardless of what you do, I'm sure. And you're just like, man, this is not fucking worth it at all, man. This is like the ratio of like the 2% that's just so glowingly incredible versus just kind of having to put yourself in positions to enjoy those small moments, And again, I'm not saying this is not a flawed view of things, but that's where things were when you and I were kind of at the same time at our lowest.
Yeah.
Just like, would be, who cares? I don't know. But like, I don't know. So you have to kind of, then I met Jesse, which was, Jesse, I think you could probably say saved my life in a lot of ways, and kind of renewed purpose, which is a good thing to feel again, right?
Yeah.
My sister's like, kids? I'm like, yeah, I don't know if she wants them. Like, this is house money, man. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. As cool as you've ever felt, there's always the ground basement floor that you could dip back down to. And, being with Jesse has been just kind of an excuse to keep the game going, and it's been really full of love and good things. And she's so awesome and just so thoughtful and caring and funny. So I don't know. If she wants to have kids, I would love to. At this point, it's just nice to, still be around and share moments with you every week on this show. And I don't know. It was just a weird thing. Going back to the original point, that was very roundabout, but you had mentioned something about, the days where you don't feel great. It's like that has always kind of been there. Where it's like, this sucks. I hate it, everything, kind of always having to be on, and not always having to be on, but I don't know, just kind of like, I don't know.
No, I agree with that point. I think people did expect a lot of you.
I don't know, but I would say it's kind of taken a U-turn in the professional world, at meetings and stuff. There's people be like, hey, you guys feel free to speak up. It's like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't like this at all, And so, yeah, I don't know. It's, and yet you still, live comfortably, just having a job, just going to it and taking the paychecks home. And I don't know. It's weird to balance some of that stuff when some of the other stuff fires up.
Yeah.
And you try to put a perspective on it all, and where do you even live and all that. Because the world's smaller and all. Yeah, we don't have to go through into all those other chestnuts. But to answer your question, it's always been there for sure. And I'd be interested to hear a recording of me saying that to you for the first time, because it was probably the seeds of what grew into a pretty deep feeling of sadness that kind of controlled a lot for the next 7 to 8 years.
Yeah. Well, damn. That, yeah. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's been 2 years. We haven't really done an episode like this.
Yeah.
And there it is, I guess.
There it is.
But you, I don't know if there's a nicer bow to put on all that. What do you think? Like, what I want to make clear is what I described as my feelings when it was at its worst are not my life philosophy or anything. It was just a deep fear, you know,
Right.
like I don't want to be right about this, but this doesn't feel super worth
Yeah.
the work that goes into keeping the train running.
Yeah, dude.
And that was probably the biggest fear
Yeah.
that I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
Because you could try and succeed at certain things, X, Y, or Z, and then get those things.
But then
It
like,
would just work out. It'd be
Yeah.
like, it would be hard. And just be like, I don't feel any different. And so then I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I
I want to make clear though, that's not how I feel. That's not
right.
a correct way to view the world. You should, the parts about being fair and good to each other and wanting to see everybody win is very much how I feel. But the stuff about it not being worth it, I would say what was funny in college was, and it's not funny, it was actually tragic, but I reached out to a mental health professional, but I accidentally emailed somebody from like a branch campus, and they were like, oh, sorry, I can't schedule you unless I don't live there. And I was just like, oh, sorry to bug you. Like, the person didn't like try to hook me up with somebody who,
Oh God.
maybe that's me putting too much on them. They were just like, oh, I'm really sorry. I can't,
Yeah.
I'm not in your city. And I was just like, oh, I didn't really know what to say, like, oh, my bad. Sorry for bugging you. And, I just never really tried it again, to be honest.
Oh,
I was like, oops, f that up. I figured they were going to be like, here, I'll give you a number. Jesus Christ. But they were just like, I don't know how to help you. It's like, I guess neither do I. So have a nice one.
oh God. Yeah, that's fucking.
It was pretty brutal. I was just like, damn. So anyway.
Oh God.
Anyway, I
Well-
should get ready for work at some point.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, put a bow on it.
All right. Do you want to give a song of the week real quick?
Not before you put a bow on it. Will you put a freaking bow on this? It got too real. It got too real.
Okay.
Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted?
Life is a whole. Dig it.
Whoa.
Isn't that from something? I don't know.
Yeah,
Joe
it's
Dirt
that
or
viral
something?
video of where, life's a garden. Dig it.
Oh, garden. Life's a hole.
But there is that thing where that professor goes in front of the class and fills up a jar with golf balls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You can fill your life with all the big stuff, but then you fill it with some of the smaller stuff. And he puts marbles in it, and then he's like, but it's all these little tiny moments that makes it truly full. And then he pours sand in, and it fills up all the cracks in between the golf balls.
And then he's like,
and everyone's like,
no matter what, there's always time for a beer with friends, right? Have you seen that version?
yeah,
of
yeah,
it?
that dude, you're right. Yeah, and he pours a beer into the sand, and it just soaks it up. And it's just like, this dude just blew my fucking mind.
Link in the show notes of that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, so.
Oh man, you got a song of the week?
And I don't know if we should advocate for that video, but I am on board with Life's a Garden, dig it. For sure.
Life's a whole dig.
Yeah. Get in. Do the SpongeBob thing where he puts the dirt over himself in one fell swoop. No. Anyway. Can you put a link to Nah. I was going to say the one the Good Fight song. Take the one about the mirror.
Oh, everything is fleeting.
Yeah.
Everyone thought I was
remember.
saying everything is bleeding.
Yeah. Anyway.
John.
Song of the week. Oy vey. I'm working on it.
Okay. There's a band called Silent Planet that I've been hearing a lot about. When I was in Vermont getting ready for the wedding stuff, we were at this like small little grocery store, like a mom and pop place. And the dude at the cash register was wearing one of their t-shirts. And it's like, you have to hear about a thing 7 times before you look it up for yourself. And I feel like that was like the 7th time. And I downloaded Silent Planet, or I was streaming on Apple Music or whatever. And it's super good. It's like, it's heavy. It's mostly screaming vocals, but it's like super, I don't know. It stirs up some emotions, and I don't really know like the songs by name yet, but the album, Everything Was Sound by Silent Planet is very good if you're into heavier music.
Lovely. Yeah, I've been consuming much the past couple of weeks because it's been a little busy with wedding prep. You ever heard a little book called Lord of the Flies?
Oh yeah, Piggy sucks to your asmar, right?
I actually don't know. Probably. Alrighty.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies?
If you listen back through this episode and deem that my answers to questions 3, 4, and 5 were make I don't know. It feels like that probably came off real douchey, but
No.
if it sounds good to you, then it probably is, and it's probably good that we did this, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, good.
All right. I really got to go to work. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Love you too, man. See ya.